At this hour, we take you to the JSC, where Kenny Mapanga is standing by to bring us the very latest there. It was a difficult day in office for Judge Goliath, who's the acting president of the Western Cape Division. And of course, at the same time, you saw the developments in Orange Farm. Calvin Lura is standing by to wrap the day for us there, because 7 people were shot, and including the tavern owner who turned the gun onto himself. So he's got all the very latest from us there. But of course, Oli is here to tell us what's coming up in sport.
Bongiwe, not great news, especially for continental football. The Super Eagles of Nigeria have said they will not take part in their 2025 AFCON qualifier against Libya. They have alleged mistreatment from the Libyan Football Association, saying they were stranded in an airport for hours on end without any food, any Wi-Fi, any connectivity, and therefore they want to go back to their home, which is Nigeria. And they've even said through their captain, William Trooster, that they're willing to give their points to Libya if this is the mistreatment that they will get. So we'll be speaking to Velile Mnyandu a bit later on just to find out the latest in terms of that feud between Nigeria and Libya. I'm Oli Zondo with your latest in sporting news.
All right, we begin with this as the Judicial Service Commission searches for the next Judge President of the Western Cape High Court Division. The leadership style of the current acting Judge President has been called into question. Patricia Goliath is the first candidate to be interviewed for the role, a position previously held by Dr. John Hlophe, who was impeached from that office by a majority vote. A few months short of completing 2 years as the acting Judge President, Judge Goliath saw concerns around her leadership style thrust into the spotlight, refuting allegations of a troubled division. Let's get the very latest now. We'll speak to Kenny Mapanga, SABC News reporter. Kenny, of course, a difficult day in office for Judge Goliath. And of course, if anything is to go by, it doesn't seem like, the JSC members were in fact convinced by some of what she says that she has done so far in order to try and restore faith in that division, but also at the same time to deal with the issues of tensions.
Indeed, good afternoon to you, Bongiwe, and to the viewers at home. Of course, the task of finding essentially what is the successor of Dr. John Hlophe, that is the Judge President of the Western Cape, is not an easy task for the Judicial Service Commission, because it's not only about how well you write judgments, your understanding of the law, or how you meet the transformation targets, but essentially you're going into a division with a rich history, quite a difficult history, had 2 leadership positions sparring against one another and counter complaints, then of course is riddled with troubles and divisions. So of course this leadership role is a different one. And of course when they consider this role, they have to look at those various factors. Judge Patricia Goliath has been acting as the Judge President of that particular division, and when she arrived this morning, she painted an image of a court that has stabilized in her close to 2 years serving as that acting position of Judge President rather. However, if we look at the complaints, or rather the comments that were submitted by a senior judge of that very same division, we get quite a stark contrast to the image she was presenting. And to discuss this further, I am joined by Alison Tilley of Judges Matter, that is the judicial watchdog that pays a close attention to the judiciary and all its inner workings, including an important process such as the JSC. Quite a day for Judge Patricia Goliath, not what she could have expected this morning when she arrived for that interview that was a marathon of close to 4 hours, to be centered on the flaws surrounding her leadership style.
It was a very long interview, and we know that that's not a good sign. There were a number of issues raised. Before we even got here, there had been a request for recusal of the judge who had been going to sit in on this process, which is why Judge Gamble is here and not Judge Erasmus. So I think everybody knew ahead of time that it was going to be difficult, but the level, the depth, the range of issues that were raised really made it a really difficult interview.
I mean, let's go through these issues one by one. I think we can start at probably the lightest issue, which is her using her position as acting judge president to designate a particular candidate to act for the Western Cape in these interviews, resulting in Judge Erasmus having to recuse themselves, as well as the request for Commissioner Notyesi to remove himself or recuse himself from this very process as well because of the affiliation to Nadal, and creating the impression that she seemingly, or what was perceived as creating a JSC panel that would have been designed according to her for her particular interview, which was a serious cause of concern for the commissioners.
Yes, it was. The issue around Mr. Notyesi was as the president of Nadal, and the issue of Nadal came up a number of times. It seems as though there were concerns from her side as to what Nadal's view was of her, and that potentially they had been organizing against her. I think that's one of the issues that we really, that the Commission has to grapple with, is whether seeing enemies, seeing people who are against you. That certainly did seem to be a feature of her interview, this concern with people who are really out to get her.
And if we look at the history, she was Deputy Judge President at the time that the counter-complaints were laid. We now know that Dr. John Hlophe has been removed from office, but we can see the severe impact of this battle between the two had on the division and the stability of the division, with candidates even now refusing to divulge their true feelings, or that's what it looks like from the interviews that we're seeing, regarding what is exactly is the root issue at the Western Cape Division of the High Court. If you are looking at those interviews as well, did you get an impression as to what exactly is the issue here?
Well, I think that the Chief Justice said that, and it was in relation to Judge Lachranji, that people were tap dancing around the issue. And I think it's obviously very difficult to come straight out and name a person as being responsible for the trouble at the Western Cape High Court, partly because it's no one person. There are a range of people. There's plenty of blame to go around. But what certainly Judge Goliath was asked about a lot is why things in the division seem to have sort of become frozen in time. That there were, whether it's something which seems relatively trivial, like a meeting that wasn't ever minuted. And that was a decision from before when she was acting deputy. It's a decision she's continued with while she's acting JP. It seems like a simple matter to say, well, we're going to have minutes of this meeting because all meetings should be minuted and the minutes made available to the participants. But such a simple matter was one that she got stuck on, and it seemed to be a difficulty around making decisions, taking new positions, really getting to grips with the challenges in the division. It rather seemed like she was a placeholder, wanting to just keep things in place until change came in the form of a new judge president.
Considering that these last, or the first two candidates, that was the acting JP and the acting DJP, could not really demonstrate to the JSC how they would lead the court through their acting stint. What is at stake for the candidate that is going to be recommended going into that division, knowing the challenges that the division has had over time, which I think Dr. Hlophe has spoken about before? What is at stake for that particular candidate that might be recommended by the JSC?
Look, I don't think there's any getting away from the fact that it's a difficult division with a difficult history. We know that there are a number of very senior judges who are going to be retiring soon. The question of where the talent is going to come from is an issue. And if people feel that the division is unhappy, not conducive, not collegial, they're not going to want to act there, and they're not going to want to apply for permanent position there. So I think it then does mean that the knock-on effect down the line is that the division is weakened because they're people who don't put themselves forward. Obviously, they're strong candidates in the interviews tomorrow for the Western Cape, so It's not to say that means that nobody's coming forward at all. But it's going to be an ongoing problem, and one of the questions that was asked is, how long are you going to be in this position? Because it's going to take more than a year or two to sort out.
All right, thank you very much. Alison Tilley of Judges Matter describing the kind of task that is ahead if the JSC chooses to recommend a candidate to fill that top judge post of Judge President of the Western Cape Division of the High Court, following that fractured period for that division of the High Court, which has been described as troubled. Now, we have seen the fourth candidate of 7 candidates that are lined up to be interviewed head into their interview now. That is ongoing currently. Then we can expect tomorrow that the JSC will continue to look for 4 judicial vacancies to be filled in the very same Western Cape Division of the High Court. Over to you in studio.
All right, thank you very much for that update. There's certainly an interesting day at the JSC. My colleague there, Kenny Mapanga, tracking these developments for us.